Hey guys, welcome back to the Faithful Farmer Mama. Here on the farm in the summer, life really can get crazy. Summertime seems to take over, and before you know it, it is time to harvest and start preserving food for the winter. Well, before we get started today, as usual, if you are new to my channel, please go down below, find the subscribe button, click that along with the little bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Y'all, summertime is busy. It continues to get busier and busier throughout the season. One of the things I love most about summer is that we have fresh produce. However, the garden tends to produce a whole lot more than we can eat at one time, which is partially why I plant such a big garden. So today we are going to actually preserve some of this food, but before we actually do that, I want to actually show you a little bit around the farm of what I do on a daily basis. So this morning we had this crazy typical summer storm come in and sort of sweep through within an hour or so, and we had a lot of things here in the garden actually get damaged, and it's made me have to preserve some things a little sooner than I had anticipated. Today our tomato plants had been pushed down and knocked over almost completely, and I lost a few of them because they've broken at the stem. So I'm going to actually gather some tomatoes and I am going to can the ones that we already have into a salsa so that we can preserve them for later on in the year. So here are our tomatoes that fell over. Some of them have broken at the base and some are just kind of laying down all over the place. These are my yellow pear tomatoes. I thought I would just salvage what I could. Most days this lawn is pretty cut, but that is because I'm on my riding lawnmower a couple times a week, actually cutting all of this to make it so beautiful. Because of the rain this morning, these two stayed inside. So now that it's nice out, I'm going to let them out and have some free time. Make trips out to the chicken coop a couple times during the day. I always have to make sure they have water, but I also bring them a lot of scraps from the house. Things like peelings and leftovers that people don't finish on their plates. Chickens really like all the extra food. I love my ladies. They truly are like little pets to me. As you see, they let me pet them and love on them. They're the sweetest things ever. Best part, they really do help to feed our family, and that makes this mama smile. The cut flower garden is thriving right now, guys. Sunflowers, gladiolas, tons of zinnias. I'm going to actually be making salsa from the yellow pear tomatoes that I gathered, along with some tomatoes that I dice and put jalapenos and onions in. And I'll also be making some frozen zucchini that I'm going to shred, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. My all-time favorite book for canning. If you ever have questions, always come to the blue book from Ball. It answers everything you possibly could want to know about canning. But on YouTube, there's lots of different tutorials that you can actually go to and find how to can. What else you will need is, of course, tomatoes. Here are my yellow pear tomatoes, fresh jalapenos, whether you buy them at the store or pick them in your own garden. Cilantro, also, I got these from the store because my garden decided to go to seed with my cilantro. So now I have coriander, but no cilantro. The jalapenos, though, they are actually from my garden. Onions and garlic, which both come from my garden. You will need a large enough stock pot or pressure cooker in order to do this, although we will not use the pressure cooking portion of this pot. You will need sterilized, clean jars. I always suggest running them through the dishwasher and leaving them warm until you are ready to use them. Also, rings. You will need rings to match each of your jars. And as always, I always suggest and highly tell you, make sure you use brand new lids. Never take lids from old jars that you've popped open because there could be bends and they may not seal correctly. You could cut these with a food processor, but I just prefer to cut them by hand because I like the larger chunks. In the bowl I have yellow pear tomatoes and a few cherry tomatoes. I have some jalapeno, and now I'm mincing some garlic in there. Cilantro, I'm pretty particular. I don't like the stems. I really don't like cilantro, but I do put it in there because I know it's supposed to be there. So I actually pull all of the leaves off the stem, and then I hand cut it so it doesn't get mushy. And then I mix all of these ingredients in a bigger bowl so that they can kind of be incorporated together. Just scraping things out because I don't like to leave anything left in the bowl. Jalapenos and garlic. And my cilantro. I don't know that I have enough tomatoes in here. I think I'm going to add a little bit more of the cherry tomatoes. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and mince up my onion. I am very particular about onion in things. I like it very small so that it's not overbearing. So I'm actually cleaning off the outside skin on this onion, and I'm going to put it in our Pampered Chef food processor. I love this food processor because it's just big enough that it will hold a couple onions and dice them the way I like them, yet it's manual, so I don't have to worry about a big lunky machine, and I can actually sit there and use it and do it by hand. Love the manual food processor. So I just cut my onions into quarters, and then I put them into my processor, and then you would just pull this handle down. Uh-oh, looks like I got an onion stuck in there. That's better. A couple pulses with my hand, and I have totally diced and pureed like onions. Perfect size for salsa. So I'm going to add those to my bowl and mix those in as well. Now looking at this bowl, it definitely needs some more red. So I'm going to go get some cherry tomatoes, and I'm going to add those into this bowl so that it will be a lot more tomato in there. I won't bore you with cutting those though. I am going to add a half of a teaspoon of salt. depending upon what you like, you could put a teaspoon in here. The salt just gives the tomato a better kick. So I finally got it all ready, and we're going to actually put it in these jars. I actually have the jars sitting back here. They have been sterilized and they are warm. And then I'm going to actually put this delicious looking salsa into those jars. Now, two of the products I didn't tell you about earlier that I have been gifted with, but they're not necessarily, like, you don't have to have them to actually can things, but they sure do make things easier. This is a funnel. I was gifted this by a sweet friend up in New York, so I just wanted to be able to use this, and I use it all the time. It's just a funnel. It fits in a mason jar, and this here is a canning remover, so like you can remove the jars out of the pot and put them in there so that you aren't actually burning your hands. The other thing I did fail to tell you is that in the bottom of your pot, I've had mine boiling since I was cutting, you are going to just put enough water that your top of your jars are covered, but you're going to want to put this in there so that the heat is not directly on the bottom of the jars. Now, because tomatoes are very acidic, it is not necessary to pressure can them. So what I'm actually doing here is I am using my pressure canner pot along with a regular water bath to actually can this salsa. And you can find all that information in the blue book. The blue book is exactly what you need to help you can everything that you want to can. So I'm just going to fill these jars with about a half of an inch of headspace. And if you don't know what that means, you need to get that blue book from Ball and actually see, it just means so that you have room on top after all the liquid is in there. And I'm just filling these as much as I can with the salsa that I have. I will pack them and push them down so that there is no extra air in between anything. I am going to also add a little bit of salt water, like a brine, into each jar so that it is totally covered with water. Really, the best way to get information on how to can, get that Ball Blue Book and really use that to safely preserve your food. Now I'm just going to go ahead and push the air bubbles out that are around the bottom, and I'm going to make sure that everything inside is covered with water. I already did the other three, so this is the last one I had to do. Then I'm going to take a paper towel and dry off the top and the rim so that the lid can actually adhere really well to the top of the jar. Then I'm putting my lids on top of my jar. Remember, always use fresh, new lids when canning. And then I put the ring on top. Of course, I am going to tighten them. You would want them just tight enough, not too tight, because you're going to actually take these off after these are sealed. I'm going to use my jar tongs and put the canned salsa into the pot. These will boil between 20 to 30 minutes, and then I'll take them out and let them cool. So while our tomatoes are actually sealing, it takes about 15 to 25 minutes boiling in this pot. And the cool thing with this is I don't have to sit there and watch it. So while I'm doing that, letting that happen, I'm going to actually shred some zucchini. In the summer, it feels like we have like a non-stop plethora of zucchini, and anyone who grows zucchini knows you don't just grow one zucchini. And for this mama who doesn't like zucchini, it's always nice to have shredded zucchini in the freezer so that when I want to make zucchini bread or any kind of muffin with zucchini, I can actually put this in there. I will tell you, over reading a lot of recipes for zucchini bread, most zucchini bread recipes call for 1.5 cups to 2 cups of shredded zucchini. So today I'm just going to shred some of that and actually put it into my freezer. I find that 2 cups actually fits in this quart-sized Ziploc bag, and you want to make sure you date it and label it so you know what it is when you're going to look for something in the middle of winter. The other thing is, if you are shredding zucchini and you have massive amounts of zucchini, I would say to go ahead and get your food processor and do it. I'm going to use this because I only have 2. So I usually cut off the ends, top or bottom, doesn't matter which, and I do shred the green in there as well. Y'all, I always shred my extra zucchini. I freeze it this way because when you try to slice it and freeze it, when you thaw it out, it actually is very mushy when it comes out of the freezer and thaws. This just preserves so much better. I put them in Ziploc bags with about 2 cups inside. Make sure you label because I promise you will not remember what it is come the middle of December. I always lay anything that's in a Ziploc bag flat on a tray when I'm freezing it, and then I put it in our deep freezer. Y'all, you know that I am a sourdough girl, but I'm going to tell you, as soon as this fridge opens, you're going to see them. Those buns. We had a party and someone actually brought those, but I'm just going to put my zucchini in here and let those freeze. My cans have been boiling. They're just about ready to take out. There they are. Beautiful. Color is amazing, and I can't wait to taste them, especially in the middle of November when there are no good tomatoes out there. I always turn my jars upside down for about 5 minutes, and then I will flip them back upright. I just find the stuff mixes better that way. As I said, it's very important to label things. I am horrible at remembering what I put where and when it was done and what's inside. It's really important to make sure you label everything that you preserve. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope I was able to teach you a little bit of something about preserving food for the winter. If you have any questions about canning or freezing or preserving food, please go down below, comment in the comment section, or private message me. And you can also find information on my personal website, The Faithful Farmer Momma. You can find that at www.thefaithfulfarmermomma.com. Thanks, guys. I'm so glad you're part of my channel. God bless. Have a great day.